I'd like to go ahead and start things off by saying that any of the parts that you will need I will have down in the description, as well as direct links to some of the parts that I bought or some of the tools and things that I'll be using for this. I'll also put down there a instruction manual on how to remove your existing bumper and install the GT500 components. This is how I'm doing things. It's going to differ a little bit from that manual. Both are just to be able to use as a reference. Do it exactly like I did, do it exactly like the manual, combination of the two, whatever. But just so you guys have that information, all that will be down there. So having said all that, I did go ahead and have the front bumper taken off here, and I do have the GT500 headlights already installed, so I apologize that that part won't be covered, but I needed the headlights in to test fit the bumper while I was getting it repaired. If you're interested in seeing those videos, I will have them linked down in the description as well, and I'll even try to put a card up here for you that will take you over to those. So having said all that, we'll go ahead and get started into the actual prep to get this thing mounted. So the first example of how I'm going to differ a little bit is I'm going to try to reuse my impact absorber that came on the Mustang. So this is a 05 to 09 GT front impact absorber. It's going to be a little bit different than the part number that is supposed to go for the bumper here, but you should be able to shave this down to fit, and so that's what I'm going to do, or at least give that a try and see if I can get it to cooperate. I'd like to clear something up for you guys because I just realized it myself. So I was treating this side as the bottom. So if it was in the bumper like that, this was the bottom edge, because that's how I pulled it off of the car to begin with. Just realized that it was on upside down, and this is not the bottom, this is the top. So really I should have been fitting it like this the whole time. However, I will say that I don't know that it made a difference in my case, because now at least the whole bumper wants to slip over when trying to mount it up, which it didn't before. So I'm not going to really adjust anything too much anymore because I can get it all the way on. Everything seats fully. This isn't spaced inside just quite like I would have preferred, but it's still behind the bumper. It's still going to serve its purpose. But just FYI, if you are going to reuse this, to make sure it's oriented the right way. My car was in a front end collision several years ago, and that's how the body shop put it back on, and I just had no reason to ever look at that or second guess it or anything up until this point. So yeah, just double check. A couple other needed items to mount the bumper are going to be these supports here. So these are going to be different than what's on the GT because the GT500 headlights come in further, as well as the support on the actual bumper. So these are a different part number. It's just going to be a couple of 10mm bolts holding each one on, and you can pop those on. And there's a different radiator part number as well. I'm going to try to just use the one that I have. If it doesn't fit or doesn't look right, then I just probably won't have one at all for a little while. Speaking of those types of things, you also will need to swap out your fender liners. You could, I guess, run without one if you wanted to, but you're gonna get rain and trash and dirt and stuff just slung all up behind the bumper, so I'm gonna replace those. Alright, so with some of that mounting stuff sorted, we can go ahead and start getting our bumper populated with some of the various components it needs. I'll start with the fog lights, but I'm not going to use these fog lights. These came with the bumper when I bought it, but I'm going to be using these right here. So these are some Morimoto XB projector fog lights, and I do need to take the clips that are on the back of the fog lights here and transfer them to the Morimotos to get them to work. So that's why I kept these around. I need to scavenge these clips. But after these get transferred, we can go ahead and start getting them popped in here, and we will be in business. Alright, so as I mentioned, moved the black clips over from the factory fog lights to the Morimotos, and then you also need to take the leveling screw here off of the factory lights and then move over, and there's this little white clip here that you will need to take loose, transplant into the new ones, and then you can screw that adjuster screw in, and then you can put the cap in on the back side of that. But regardless of what fog lights you're going with, you are going to need to swap out this connector from the GT fog lights, and you will need to extend the length of this harness, because you're going to be going from, you know, mounted up in the grill area to down here somewhere. And so this matches the GT500 fog lights, and it also gives you a little bit of length. However, this is not going to be enough on the passenger side, and since I have plenty of room to operate on this side, I'm going to cut some of this wiring out, use it on the passenger side, and use the entire length of the connector over there as well. They do make an adapter in extension, and I don't know why I didn't get that. I bought these a long time ago, and when gathering up all the parts to do this, I saw that this is the type I had, and I honestly questioned myself as to what I was thinking when I bought them. But I'll link both into the description for you, this type and the adapter type. But just make sure that you've got enough of whatever material you're using so that you can run the harness all the way. Okay, so the bumper is reassembled. Give you a quick little walk around and explain what I did. So the splitter is held on by these 8mm screws all along the bottom, and there are 3 places where the bumper will slot into the splitter, and so I just made sure that those were fully seated and locked in. In addition to the bolts on the bottom, there are a couple of screws right here that will go in on the side, and all this just goes into speed clips that are on the bumper. And then this top screw here helps hold on this bracket, and this bracket I actually took from my GT bumper and just riveted it back on, and then that is also what helps hold your turn signal into place. There's the new fog lights, just seated and snapped in on both sides, and then the upper and lower grille just pushed into all their respective tabs and then fully seated. So I held it from the back side while I pushed from the front, and made sure that everything snapped in and clicked. So now it's time to actually go ahead and mount it up onto the car. Alright everybody, so that's gonna pretty much do it for today's video, and I got that bumper fixed and fitted pretty dang good. Not perfect for sure, but pretty good if I do say so myself. The only thing is that front splitter still has a little bit of some scuff, some road rash, so I'm gonna have to figure out something to do for that. I don't know, I'll think of it. In the meantime though guys, thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next one.